search. Okay, I'm really, really disturbed by the people at the bar chatting away. Oi, fuckers!
We're doing a reenactment.
Hello, did you get me a pint? Of gin? Downstairs, the gin's downstairs, is it? Yeah, okay. It's a really amusing story about a drug search. Would you like to hear it? I said, would you like to hear it? Yeah. Sorry, I'm being mean to them, aren't I? Am I? No, I'm not being mean to them. We actually want to listen, and it's a bit distracting that they're talking at the bar. Sorry, it's my job as the MC here to point out to you that you're being distracting at the bar. I think the bar staff are actually being distracting at the bar. Is actually what it is. They don't include themselves as part of the event, do they? So they don't have to mind what they do and say, they just have to take the money. So there I was, in my van. I've got a van, and this comedy copper waved me over. I knew he was a comedy copper because he started doing this. So I looked at him and I did that back. And then he did it again. So I did it again back. And I knew what he wanted, it was just a wind-up. So I opened my window, and he leaned in like this, and he went, hello, hello, hello. See, I knew he was a comedy copper. And he said, I'm sorry, madam. Oh, I hate being called madam. I'm sorry, madam, but we're going to have to drug search your van. Is that all right? And I said, yeah, that's fine. He said, we've got these highly trained professional sniffer dogs here. Would you mind if I put it through your van? I said, no, that's fine. He said, could you just make sure that you've got no food or any open bags of crisps or anything lying around in the van? And I said, why? He said, well, they're easily distracted. So you've got a highly trained professional police dog here, and it's going to get distracted by a half-open bag of cheesy Wotsits. I thought, well, fucking hell, you can get away with murder. Mind you, if you did want to get away with murder, you'd need like a family-sized bag of Frazzles, wouldn't you? And just sort of shake it all over the corpse. And then if the sniffer dog got really interested, it'd be like a weird form of cannibalism, wouldn't it? You'll get there. Anyway, so then he said, right, madam, put the dog through the van, nothing. He said, can we get you out of the van? I said, yeah, all right, madam. I said, okay. So I got out of the van. He said, I'm afraid we're going to have to pat you down. I said, all right. I looked over, there was this lovely row of nice young shiny coppers with their shiny buttons and their tight little arse uniforms on. I said, can I choose? He said, no. So then this other woman, who was obviously in plain clothes, because she was wearing like a sort of beige sack from head to toe. She walked over to me like a wobbly bag of porridge. She had one of those belts on with all the equipment on. It looked like an S&M tutu. It was stuck out like this. Anyway, she walked up to me and she said, madam. She said, madam, have you got anything sharp or anything you want to tell me about in your pockets? And I said, no. I said, actually, all I've got is a hairband and a hanky. And it was one of those cloth hankies, you know, like an old-fashioned fabric hanky. Because I don't need them to grow trees in the third world that they cut down and pop and push into little squares of white tissue that they then hermetically seal in plastic bags and fly across the world using valuable fossil fuels. No, I can do washing. So anyway, I pulled out my hanky and I waved it like this. And this woman went, me too! I said, bless you. She went, no, me too. And she dived into a wobbly sack. And she pulled out a cloth hanky. And the comedy copper had got a bit bored by now, so he came over, he got his out and he was waving it around as well. His hanky. So there's the three of us waving them around like this. And I said, blimey, we could be Morris dancing. And no word of a lie, the comedy copper, he looks at me and he says, you Morris dance and I'll tase you. Which, you've got to say, is really heavy-handed policing. Because if you want to disarm a Morris dancer, what you've got to do is take his hanky off. Anyway, Anyway, that actually happened. Slightly embellished, but it did actually happen. And I was going into a festival. I don't know if any of you heard of Boomtown?
Yeah.
Okay, so Boomtown's a bit notorious because, as the comedy copper told me, most music festivals have a drug problem. But Boomtown is a drug festival with a music problem. Which leads me introducing the next act, who is an old friend of mine from many a festival. In fact, we've probably known each other longer than some of these people have been alive, which is a little bit distressing, but I think we're wearing quite well, you know. Thanks. Anytime you want to make that a little bit more enthusiastic, okay, so can we do the same kind of enthusiasm for the lovely Vicky Lee? Please come on
up. My name's Vicky Lee. I'll be your other Londoner for this evening. As you can tell by the accent, I'm not from the posh bit of London like Sarah. I'm from the other side of the river. East End born and bred. Can I get a woohoo? I've got to say that Newport did take me somewhat by surprise. I've been here once, I was lost. I was looking in an estate agent's window because I'm middle-aged now and I do that sort of shit. Also, I didn't want to talk to anyone. So I was looking in the estate agent window and this bloke comes up to us and he was like, can you give me some money for some drugs? And I was like, yeah, all right, mate, there you go. Gave him £2. And as he walked off in his blue tracksuit, and it matched, you know, he was a man of style, he went, I'll be back later. You're all right, love. Okay, so you are quite a bit younger than I'm used to. But imagine you're at a wedding, guys, yeah? You've all been to a wedding, and imagine that I'm your favourite auntie. And you've got to have a dance with your favourite auntie. You know, don't resist, it will be over soon. And the more you laugh, the quicker I'll be off. Right, so I know lots of people have had a crap 2016, but mine was actually quite good because I became an internet sensation. I tweeted this thing about Brexit. I'm voting Remain. I've read Lord of the Flies. I know what it's like to be stuck on an island with a load of pig-fixated schoolboys. Now, some man that I never met turned it into what I think is called a meme. 250,000 people shared it. Imagine if they'd all fucking voted. So, there's been a bit of a rise in, I don't know, what am I going to call it? Fascism. and once upon a time, when I was young, back in the dim and distant past, people used to be homophobic, right? Quite openly homophobic. And that's totally socially unacceptable now. I expect, if you want to be a homophobe these days, you have to go and stand in a pretend bus shelter, like a smoker. Remembering the days when you could be intolerant in the warm. And there's this thing called Islamophobia that I totally don't get, really. Right? I go to the Indian, I see my mate Naz coming towards me with a big plate of poppadoms. I don't scream until my husband comes and puts a glass over him and go and puts him in the garden. You don't go for immersion therapy for Islamophobia, do you? Good afternoon, Mr. Smith. I understand you're here for some help with your Islamophobia. Yeah, because he's going to be a thug, isn't he? So what we're going to do, Mr. Smith, is we're going to watch Disney's Aladdin while I massage you with these pages from the Quran. And you hear people come out with the most god-awful shit, like, well, it's all this terrorism, innit? I just don't trust them anymore. Mate, have you got any idea how stupid you sound? That's like saying, well, you know, since the Titanic, I've not been able to look at a Calippo. But I suspect, Mr. Smith and all your mates, that you're not really scared, you just don't like the brown people, so you can fuck off to the pretend bus stop with all the other bigots. So we've got to know each other quite well now, guys, yeah? And I I'm quite a angry person. I, like Sarah, have quite a difficult mother. And people, like, she was chronically depressed, it was fucking terrible. And people say stuff to me like, oh, that must have been really traumatic, it must have been really traumatic. But, you know, I was a kid, I was used to it. The most traumatic thing my mum ever did, I got some bubble gum stuck in my hair once. And because she was fed up, she just could not be fucking arsed to try and get it out in any sort of effectual way. So she just cut it out. And it was all tufty on top, and the kids at school called me Paul Weller for a month. Anyway, I go to a lot of festivals. Can I get a whoop whoop? And quite aside from statutory naked man, because there's always one, yeah? Generally, he'll come and stand in front of you like that. Legs akimbo, hands on hips. Generally while you're sat on the floor, so his junk is right in your face. I've had to ask my dad to stop doing that. You meet people that they just couldn't exist in any other sphere, because like you cannot make a living selling bombs off a blanket. And they're poor children sniffing up the fumes from burger vans, because they're just so desperate for some frickin' meat. It's like a hideous reverse Alan Bennett play. Oh, come away, Velvet Rainbow. Your mother was all day with that quinoa. and festivals are a very different experience, not seen through the miasma of mind altering drugs. And I gave up mind altering drugs sometime, probably before you were all born. After a 3-day coke binge turned me into an Evelyn Waugh character. It's such a dreadful party, darling. I didn't think I'd been quite so bored all year. Thanks, Jackie. So there's these things called boutique festivals, and there's one in sunny Oxfordshire that I'm sure that quite a lot of some members of the audience are quite familiar with. Cameron's own county, so you know, what am I expecting? And I'm not going to fit in there because, if anything, I'm too tolerant in that I can eat wheat and dairy. And I also learned that it's not cultural appropriation if you're middle class. Now, this festival has a champagne bar. Let that sink in, people. A champagne bar, which they wouldn't let me in. A champagne bar. Now, outside the champagne bar, people were Are you skinning up, mate?
No, skinning up.
Sorry. Pass it round. Stop flashing lights, you're confusing me, I'm old. Where was I? Right, champagne bar, outside, yeah. So we're outside the champagne bar, and do what? Shut up! Outside the champagne bar, people are rolling corks down the hill for their children to chase. Maybe that's how posh people practice for sports day. All I know is I was 28 before I found out that champagne, like the proper stuff, doesn't actually have a little baby deer on the bottle. That's for everyone who can remember Baby Shark.
Fucking fashion.
Is it? Oh, marvellous. I'm cool again. And another thing that's kind of grinding my gears at the moment is biscuits. Shh, really distracting. Now, you might think that they're, you know, crumbly, innocuous treats, yeah? They're a social minefield. Now, I'm at an age in my life where I'm going to an increasing amount of funeral teas. Now, and you might think it's a nice gesture to take some biscuits along, yeah? Don't do it. People want to see a nice sombre biscuit, like a bourbon. They don't want to see party rings. Or even worse, happy faces. And whatever you do, yeah, don't theme the biscuit to the funeral. Now, look, I'm going to give you a bit of a heads up, like a trigger warning, if you like. Right? did this joke for a load of students in Birmingham the other week, and I started, and they all looked absolutely freaking horrified. This is a narrative for comedic effect. It never really happened. Now,
It did.
I have a friend whose father was battered to death in a hideous mugging gone wrong. You're doing the faces. I told you it's a fucking joke.
Alright.
Don't worry, it's not real, okay? I have a friend whose dad was battered to death in a hideous mugging gone wrong. That's the reaction I was looking for. So I thought, I know, I'll take her a packet of club biscuits. Which turned out to be a terrible idea. And she hasn't spoken to me for 5 years, which is a bit unfair because her dad was a shit mugger. You're probably better off with just taking cake, really, guys. Anyway, that has been me. I've been Vicky Lee. You can find me on Facebook and Twitter. You've been a lovely audience. Thank you very much, guys.
All I can say is with that funeral joke, I'm going to give the club joke a seal of approval. It's not clever, it's just punny. Thank you, Vicky. Do you all want to have a little break and go and get a drink and come back again? Yeah. Okay, well that was the first half. Come back for the second half. But before you go, this is a pay what you want night, and there is a glass here which is empty. And apparently, if I put it down the front of the stage, you all totter forward and put a tip in for Tad. Money. You know, it's just bloody endless. So round of applause for the first lot. Thank you very much.